What is up, everyone? Matt from Soundrolling.com. Thought I would go online. Just got back from day one of a stag do, and wanted to see with my husky voice if I could help anyone out there. So let's see. Got my McDonald's milkshake, classic. So we'll see. There's a couple of people live already, so ask questions down below or to the side or wherever the comment section is, and I will see if I can offer my honest opinion. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Oh, we got 3 people. Hello, 3 people. Already a like. What is that about? So we'll see what we're saying. So, what are some good ways to prevent clothing rustle? I'm new to this. So, Markel Hawkins, I would say clothing rustle. So, number 1 is don't wear too many layers. Ideally, people that wear too many layers, there's more likely to be rustle. And that rustle generally becomes or is from cable noise. And that's cable noise down the microphone. So if you're not wearing something like an Ursa chest strap, and you're kind of sticking the mic here, and the cable is going down and then along and then back to the pack, that is going to create rustle, or it's going to create something. So even with my COS 11s, you can get a COS 11 kind of mount, a rubber mount, and the problem with that sometimes is that although it isolates the head of the microphone, it doesn't deal with the cable noise, because you can, just like if for instance you are holding a piece of string with someone else and someone in the middle hits that piece of string, that sends a vibration, and that same vibration is what causes cable noise, essentially. So I would say if you're new to cable noise, there is a key feature, which is isolate the noise from the head of the microphone, but I would say also focus a lot on the cable, because if you can isolate the cable, whether it be through a bubble bee kind of zigzag coil, even though that potentially damages the cable that you're working with, depending what cable you're working with. Yeah, I would say trying to isolate the cable and trying to make sure that the head is isolated as well is kind of a key factor in making everything work. So we have Sound Speed says, Mark will get them not to wear clothes. That is also a key. But it makes it very hard to cancel the microphone. The like was for me. I see a new video from Matt Price. It gets an automatic like. Well, there we go. There's a lot of people that subscribe to me that don't like what I do, which I find very kind of ironic. So if you don't like what I do, but you're already watching this video at this point, please give it a dislike, because that will directly affect, obviously, my output in life, as it already has in the forums, and I quit all the forums, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Markel, check out, I've just started doing more kind of sound courses, and I'm going to keep doing sound courses in terms of, for the last 7 years, I've basically been roughly vlogging about what I was doing. And again, I say vlogging as if I was some sort of influencer, but it was more just me documenting to get feedback of people that either like or hate what I'm doing, and then I'm able to adjust and see what is actually true or is actually false in terms of whatever narrative they are potentially dictating. So yeah, so I would say, yeah, it's going quite well so far. But the next stage for me, I think, is to offer courses, and I think is to offer courses for free. And then potentially, if I get really stuck for money, eventually, then I may slightly charge, and that will probably be for like a one-on-one course in terms of me just giving you everything I've done to be quote unquote successful, i.e., making money from delivering good quality audio to a lot of people over the course of about 500, 600 projects. And I think that is the definition of success so far. I never really wanted to aim for Hollywood. I kind of feel that doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, that Hollywood gets a bit too regimented for me, and it gets a bit too much like the sound is the only thing and that is the most important thing and blah blah blah. Soundspeed was sad to see you quit the forums. I've been threatened to be banned as well. And I think this is the case. The people that set up the forums don't want to see the people be successful in those forums. And I know that Soundspeed, for instance, I hope at the very least that you've been somehow influenced with me just basically talking whatever my truth is at the moment and done what you're doing. And it might not necessarily be that classic kind of scenario of, well, what I decided. So like Simon Hayes, for instance, I decided that even though my dad was a sound recordist, that I wanted to be a sound recordist. And then when Guy Ritchie said, do you want to do the sound? I mean, he basically lucked out and he worked incredibly hard. And that is the perfect combination for success. Working incredibly hard at the right time. And so what the rest of us can do is basically work hard and hope that luck hits us in terms of basically execution. Because the theory of sound is incredibly easy. The theory of sound is that you are in a room where you only have something emitting sound that you want to record, and then you are able to do that. Obviously, Simon Hayes had a lot tougher job in terms of recording Guy Ritchie, who made a film in like East London, maybe South London, and it was over like a railway bridge and it was in the rain, and he was clever enough to be able to be like, okay, well, you can work contextually if you include the rain and this, that, the other. And you should totally check out my sound chat. I talked to the guy for 2.5 hours. I still feel slightly sad that he helped get me kicked out of one of the groups in the sound world, and that was nearly a year ago, which is also sad for me because it shows how much I thought it was contributing to a community that actually the head people don't give a shit, because it's just like amps, it's just like whatever. And I've met people at the top of their game doing amazing work, and they are so down to earth, and they're very happy for people like me to start contributing to the rest of the community. Anyway, I don't really get bogged down, but yeah. So now I've started doing courses, so you can do learn.soundrolling.com, and I'm able to now contextualize a lot of the information that I've been doing over the past like 7 years, and then make that work. So, Jay Ryan, do you ever recommend few layers of clothing because of the risk of noise? I do. And I generally say that because of actors that and it's kind of even worse if they have chest hair. So, especially the guys. It doesn't matter so much with the girls, especially if they have some cleavage, because it's a lot easier to stick in between cleavage and then get a good sound, because not only do you get the best placement for bass, especially for a female voice, generally speaking, but also you get the separation of the clothing, and that leads to the air as well, and so then there's a lot more kind of free movement of sound waves, as it were, to make that work as well. I would never personally say that I would tell an actor to take off clothes, but if they're wearing a lot of layers, I would just know that it would personally lend more to the radio mic being worse. And so I would only say something if, because ideally I always go for boom. I always go, if the camera's like here and the boom is just above right here, I know that I'm good. I know that even if the radio mic sounds good, I don't need a backup because it sounds good. There's a lot of people that are obviously going for the radio mic. The radio mic is the same placement, and so it's consistent. And so if I ever need to take a line or I need to da 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 da, yeah, that's all well and good. But I'm not playing for post production. I'm playing for what sounds real, what sounds genuine, what sounds like the best performance. And if I mess up, then I mess up, and I tell the director, I let them know. But generally, if it's fine on here, but I've got it on here, then I know that it's definitely good. And so I say move on, even if one of those is messed up, depending on the circumstances. So, i.e., there's a boom above here, but they're facing this way, but behind them is a motorway. And so their body shields, and so that means that obviously the radio mic is generally, depending on how you gained the radio mic compared to everything else, should sound a lot better. So that is generally how I deal that. But I would never say to a wardrobe like take off a lot of underlayers, for instance. It would only be if I couldn't get really good clear sound on the boom. So yeah, sound speed. You can help make your own luck though. The harder you work, the luckier you get. I would say that is very true. The more you work, definitely the more chances you make for yourself going forward in terms of not only your network, in terms of the quality of the film that you are recording, or the TV show or commercial or creative content or vlogger or whatever. Let's put them on the same pedestal of basically marketing or branding something, whether it's you're branding George Clooney as Ocean's 8, or whether you're kind of creative content for a sneaker commercial. It's all kind of the same thing. You're just trying to basically tell a story, and they want to be able to hear that story, because if they can't, well, that happens to be the cheapest way still in all of today's technology, the cheapest way to make something convincing, and that is an actor having an actual performance, having a real emotion, and you being able to capture it. It doesn't really matter how it gets color graded that much, me personally thinking. It doesn't really matter what well, it kind of does matter what music you play with it. You can enhance it, but in terms of the actual overall raw emotion of what the actor is performing, I would say that you are hard done by to not get clear sound compared to clear visuals. And I don't mean that because focus pullers have a tremendously crazy job as well. So, yeah. So while we've still got a few people watching me, 14 minutes in, get your comments in, get your questions in, and I will happily deliver whatever I think at this time, right now, on YouTube. Asterisks like privacy policy, updated terms, things may change, blah 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 blah. Are you sure? Come on. Don't make it like earlier. There's probably like 14 people watching and no one said anything. Okay, do you ever personally do some sound cleanup even if you are not the sound editor? I have offered that, and that is purely because I know. So I've done a lot of short films, and I've done a lot of short films also for people that are doing creative content or commercials, and those people don't like necessarily want to always do commercials or creative content. They want to make their own narratives. And so it's quite easy for me. I've already got RX 6 isotope. And so it's quite easy for me to, for instance, print room tone. Or it's quite easy for me to clean up sound because I was on location and I know that this said constant sound in the background is easy enough to clear up. Now, whether the debate then gets into, like, are you offering too much? Are you taking away someone's work because you're offering something that someone else could do? Blah, 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 blah. And to that, I think, yes, but the more important thing to me is that whoever I am working with, they have the best possible sound that they can afford. And so, with that, hello, Alejandro. Yeah, and so with that comes the fact that if I treat every single person as if they're worth £100,000 over the course of my whole entire career, then I only need a couple of people to think that I'm really valuable, or to make myself really valuable to a couple of people. And then it not only changes their career, but it changes mine as well. So, yeah, Alejandro, it's good to see you live as well. And so, yeah, I would say that I don't offer it all the time, and it also depends on location. Like, sometimes you can be unlucky and there's a construction site, or there's this, or there's that, and I know how to cut the close shot with the wide shot with the medium shot. And so it all depends on them as well. It depends if they're going to allow me basically to capture work that is really good as well. So yeah, sound speed. And yes, your YouTube channel was a big inspiration for me starting on my own, because back then you were basically the only sound pro putting out regular content on YouTube. And this is the thing, I should have kept documenting my whole process so far, because I have a feeling that all the people at the top right now that originally started, like, being friends with, like, Guy Ritchie, who was a runner, who was no one, who wanted to make films. Again, it sounds like an absolutely absurd thing until it happens. And there's a lot of, again, you can easily criticize, for instance, Simon Hayes for being like, oh, you only managed to make like noise cancelling air, or that kind of thing for like a wind machine, for instance. And though, yeah, you could be a boom operator like Alan Williams, for instance, who definitely recommend you also check out as well as a boom operator. And you could say that, yeah, he got more into podcasting, or he got more into his audience, and he just followed where the audience went. There's no... I've got to say that everyone, and I recommend that even if you're watching this right now, even if you don't publish it live, you just start documenting where you are right now. Because if I was documenting back in 2011, nearly like 10 years ago, it's like 8 years ago, if I documented every bus journey I went on for 11 hours just to get to London, to then do 12 hours, to then take an 11-hour bus journey back, or if I documented my life before then, the 6 months before, I was trying to follow a girl to Canada, and I basically worked my ass off, saved up all this money. She stopped talking to me 2 weeks before I'd followed her to Canada anyway. She didn't speak to me until pretty much my birthday, and then I'm in another whole country, and I'm about to go back home, and everything's all fucked up. You kind of think at the time, I don't want anyone to see this. But then you've got to realize that things are basically going to get better and better as long as you keep committing to where you're going. And just like the 20, like, I think I did the 10-year challenge or whatever, it was 2009 to 2019. It was, yeah, it was really weird to just see myself basically doing the same thing. And you're kind of like, does that mean that I'm getting anywhere? Does that mean that I'm happy where I am? Well, actually, at the moment, I am happy where I am. And actually, I'm working harder than I've ever worked before. And then you realize that you've got to like work. And Sound Speeds has just gone online and says, on set, but wanted to pop in and say, hey, dude, great to see you making videos again. I am. And Kyle Sherling, what is up? So, yeah, I need to make more videos. Again, it's almost a sign of weakness that we're in a culture now where people from the outside, just like when you're in school, can make you feel small, can make you feel like you're not doing well enough. And I want to be one of those people that's here to say, just keep going. If you're not where you want to be right now, you will be. And if you are still less than where you thought you were, even though you're working hard, I would just say work harder. I would just say that the price that you pay for today is worth it for tomorrow. In terms of whatever you're doing now, if you think it's going to go on forever. I sacrificed almost a year and a half living 500 miles away from arguably one of the greatest places to do creative content or film. And I took a £30 bus ride, which was 11 hours. So I would set off at 8 p.m. on a Thursday, for instance, to get to a shoot to arrive in London at 7 a.m. to start a shoot at maybe 8 a.m. in the centre of London or East London. And then I would work for 12 hours. And then I would either sleep in a park, although I definitely didn't want to and only did that a few times. Otherwise, I would then wait at Victoria bus station. And then I would take an 11-hour bus ride back. 11 hours. This is like ridiculous. You think you're wasting so much time. And when I'm almost turning 30 now. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of my audience that especially starting out, if you are anywhere under 30, then it is almost ridiculous for you to think that you are too good to travel to X, Y, and Z, to do this, that, and the other. Because I have literally made relationships that have made me tens of thousands of pounds, let alone dollars, even though obviously exchange rate, Brexit, like hashtag. I would say that you can do whatever you want to do, but you just have to keep pursuing it. And a lot of people, just like even my parents, because they're from a generation where obviously you just went to the BBC as opposed to like working in media. I would say that if you are the person in your family that is on their own, they're doing this thing, they love doing it, they're just scraping by, they're staying at home, they're being sensible, and you're trying to make it work, and you're trying to save up for like all this equipment, even if it's £3,000 these days. £3,000 is a lot of money if you've got no money. And so just like me, I had no money starting out, and so I worked, and so I kept working, and I worked some more, and I kept working, and I worked, and then I went to Canada, and then it was all fucked. And so then I got back, and you know what I did? I got a Mandy.com, which is now the same as Film and TV Crew Pro or whatever. And even if you have to pay £15 a month, you've got to be like, well, all I have to do is get a job that is £16, which hopefully you don't have to do. But if you do, that is the price of entry these days. Everyone's going to be high and mighty about getting involved with, why don't you just follow Walter Murch? Or why don't you just like go to Skywalker Sound and blah, blah, blah. there's no rules anymore. No one knows the rules. The whole rule is that you make your own value, and you make your own value by offering something. And if you don't have anything to offer, then what you do is you learn and you practice and you do the theory in swimming until you're able to actually swim. And then you go, look, I can swim. And then from that, people will go, okay, well, go on, swim then. See you on my film or blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's crazy. And then you do it, and then you keep doing it, and then you do it again. And I've done this maybe nearly 600 times, surely, on individual projects, whether they be a day, whether they be 30 days, whether they be 14 days, 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, 7 days, with different people, with the same people. And the whole point is that you know what you have to do for all the levels of the game. You just have to figure out the game. And then once you do that, then you keep going. Yeah. So Alejandro, I had this same discussion with my dad and almost lost it. That's it. Some people won't understand. And I think my parents are still, well, they're not even surprised. They're just glad that I'm doing well, obviously. They're super supportive, and they've always been there in terms of whatever I was doing. They thought it was fucking insane to take a bus ride for 11 hours one way and then go back. And yeah, it's insane. Honestly, I feel doing this than I was 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years I think is a sweet spot. 3 years, if you've been doing it for 3 years and you've been slogging it out, then this is when it all changes. That's when it changed for me. I only made £5,000 in the first whole year that I was doing things, because I was doing a lot of student projects still. This is after spending like 7 months chasing a girl to Canada, doing real jobs. And so then I got back, and then, yeah, I'd spent probably, yeah, like 7, 8 months doing like my work. Oh, and it was just long. But now you can afford a place to live. You can buy all this gear, and then when people say, "How much is your gear worth?" like, you can go, "Yeah, you basically." They seem to think that you bought that like the next day on loan, because they couldn't fathom that you've basically been saving like £100 from this project, £100 from the other project, £200, £300, 500, 700, 800. It's, yeah, it's insane. So yeah, just basically just keep going at it. And that's almost the hardest thing. And that's the main things they never tell you in film school, is how to actually get a job. I remember like almost like a life-changing thing. There was a talk by a researcher who worked for the BBC, and they were like, I hope to be a DP one day. And I was shaking my head. They'd been a researcher for 3 years, and they basically hoped to be a DP in like 25 years. I was like, you are losing so much time. Basically the sacrifice almost for like entry these days is not, well, it is who you know, but it's still, you, like, if you're working for Simon Hayes, for instance, you better hope that you only want to be a boom operator, because Simon Hayes obviously wants to be the mixer. And obviously now he has this boom operator for ages. So you better hope that you want to be a really good first. And so it all depends on what you want to do. Because if you want to be more, then you should go and be more. And Alejandro says film school was a waste of time for me. So for me, personally, film school was yes and no. I'm paying a lot of money basically to find out what I want to do. And that is thankfully down to the UK university system, which means that I only have to pay a proportion of whatever I earn. Again, being self-employed, obviously there's expenses involved. It would, yeah, I would then have to basically yeah, I would just have to figure out what I wanted to do. And basically, 3 days before I had to choose what I wanted to do for university, I was basically already making terrible, and I mean terrible films, if you can even call them that, of my friends, um, trying to roughly tell a story or being like a stick figure, like fighting their way, like a Hitman movie through a load of levels. Um, ugh, just to find out, basically, that everyone else who wanted to be a director, who wanted to be a DP, knew all the Russian, like, French New Wave names and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't have the work ethic because they thought they were already too good by knowing the theory. And it's almost like saying you're going to win an Olympic medal off a theory of swimming if you haven't actually swum in a pool because you know what you should do and when you should do and who you should talk to and what you should say. But just like the rest of school, you realize that it's kind of a bit bullshit if the whole of education doesn't really teach you about the fundamentals of life, such as sex, properly, tax, what's that? Rental agreement, what's that? The benefit system, what's that? Why is that there? How people pay for the NHS. You know, there's all this bullshit. You're just going around in a circle. Ever since you start in year one, you're just going in a bigger circle of like, remember what you knew last year? Well, now we're going to add a little bit more to that. That's great. And again, apart from reading, writing, being able to do 1 plus 1 or 5 times 5, there's literally like, it doesn't matter if you know that theoretically climate change is a real thing. You just have to realize in the political situation what's going on. And you don't even learn about the political system because obviously it would be biased, and someone from the Green Party might be teaching you about the Conservatives and Labour and blah. Yeah, it just goes on forever and ever. So yeah, there's limits to it, but and this is why I want to try and start doing my own courses, and why you can go to learn.soundrolling.com and start to actually try my courses, basically comment on them, rip them apart for all I care. I will just try and make them better. I'm not saying that I'm the best teacher out there at all. I will just basically share what I know so far. And if you know something different, please share it with me. And then I will be able to try and instigate that into the conversation and the adaptive learning. Because I am so sick of this forum culture and the admins. I mean, there's still some good ones out there. A lot of London forums, even though I've left them, I know that they're run by good people. But even like unions, blah blah blah, like they drum on the same old thing. There's no difference apart from everyone has to stay together, otherwise we're all gonna fall apart. But they don't offer you anything. And the whole point is that everyone pays £30 a month for basically a good deal on, I don't know, kit insurance or something. That's how it feels to me. There's no real camaraderie, because everyone's after the same jobs, and it's like it's ridiculous. So that's what I think anyway. I think there's always some sinister plan, and like, well, not sinister plan, but there's always someone at the top who's getting paid a load of money and blah blah blah. And so everyone then shits all over the YouTubers and even people like Alan Williams, who's like fucking so legit, it's ridiculous. Or who is it? Michael. Oh, shit. I've totally forgotten his name, which is really bad. Michael Michael W. I shall call him. And he's offering just a genuine insight into the top level of what he's working at. It's crazy. So, Alejandro, I had a question regarding your Soundrolling app. Are you relaunching it again? So, I am now replacing my app with courses. And that is generally because it costs the same, or a little bit more technically, to run an app compared to the courses. So I would rather do courses and offer ugh, PDF downloads of whatever I'm trying to tell anyone. Michael Wayne, yes, sound speeds. Um, sorry, that's the guy before, in case you've just randomly jumped on at this point. So I would say I'm not relaunching the app. I'm not relaunching the app because I don't want to monetize the app, and so I would rather pay 50 quid a month to have a course platform to teach everyone about sound, and then potentially later on I would do some sort of sympathy, like coaching, mentorship, live Q&A weekly course, and hopefully I will have, oh, there we go. Hopefully I will have guilted enough of you into giving me like £5 a month or something ridiculous to barely cover the cost of an actual course platform program / all the work I put in and blah blah blah. So yeah. So let me know what you think so far. I'm gonna keep live. I'm gonna guess that literally 0 people who have started watching this from the start are watching. If not, comment below somehow. Yeah, so I'm very happy to give away all that I know so far for free, because I know that not everyone can do every single job, because you are a person and so you only have a finite amount of time. I would say that you can't be everywhere, and there's a lot of jobs in a lot of different places with a lot of different people. I would say it doesn't really matter that you try and do all the jobs or the best jobs. You just try and do whatever makes you happy. And so having a kid on the way in June, it's still, I'm just working, I'm still doing low budget features, I'm still doing this, that, and the other. And I'm not feeling like a failure, like I thought I would when it was film school. And it was the whole point of basically winning an Oscar by the time you're 25. It's ridiculous. All the people that go to the best film schools basically have shitloads of money somehow, and they go there when they're 35 to basically reaffirm that they're still able to do this artistic thing, learning from the best people in the crowd, because obviously that's what you pay for. But you can't really still buy your way to the top, especially in sound. I don't think. I mean, even if I said that I'd work for Simon Hayes, I think a lot of people would be like, who? And then I would name the films and they would go, oh. But then that's just a whole kind of demographic in kind of a nutshell, which is a bit crazy. So, Alejandro, besides the course, what else do you have coming up? Well, hopefully, I've got still a few more things to review from Deity that they sent me. LMC sent me a lot of kind of microphone stuff in terms of concealment that they want me to test, and I don't really know what it is. So I'm going to try that, although I'm going to try and incorporate that into a course, obviously showing people how to hide microphones, where to hide microphones, all this kind of stuff, and basically build a brand on being a good guy instead of a dickhead that's going to sell you a course that's going to make you millions of pounds in 2 years. So, which reminds me of that reality guy, whatever the fuck happened to him, guaranteeing that you would make 100 grand a year on reality, which is ridiculous. Kyle, unfortunately on set right now, so I have no go-to, but glad to see you active again and feeling better about you and your knowledge. Yeah, well, this is the bullshit thing. Like, people, you can let people get into your head if you want them to get into your head, basically. And it's a real mindfuck, because you want to be part of a community and then you realize you're rejected from a community that you think would benefit from your knowledge, knowing that basically, if there is no like actual community. It's just again the bullshit pyramid scheme of, oh well, my dad had a mixer which cost like 75 million pounds back in the day, and so that's what I'm gonna do. Or, oh well, I know this guy and I've been working for him for ages, and he knows a timecode company and blah 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 blah. Like it's all bullshit. So um, yeah, it's just realizing that me documenting where I'm and what I'm doing right now and what I'm thinking right now may change, but you know what? I think it right now, and somehow I've got the balls to say it right now, and everyone that shits on this video right now in the comments basically probably hasn't made a video, probably hasn't documented what they've done. If they've got to success, they've only documented from when they've been successful. Or they're trying to hedge their bets and trying to use this as a platform to get further work. And the ironic thing of me getting further work in the sound community without selling anything is hilarious. So, fuck you guys, basically, going onward. I just want to kind of document this right now, because maybe I'll feel differently and I'll feel really sad for all those people that are trying to like make the funk, and even the people that I know that I've helped so far that have now gone on to better things and not talked to me or not like chimed in or not said anything or blah blah blah. It's like, it doesn't matter. I put this stuff out there, people are going to use whatever I'm saying in some degree, and so me making an impact, whether it is tangible back to me, it's going to be, yeah, it's just going to be there. And so when I'm 85, and hopefully I'm going to be like Jeff Wexler, and I'm going to make things happen, because that guy's a legend, and I totally hope you guys look up the Jeff Wexler live chat that I did. Hopefully I'm going to be like him. I'm going to be like fucking 207 years old, or however long people live these days, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I thought about not doing film anymore, but I kind of want to do film, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. So Soundspeed still here from the start. The number isn't 0. I'm chilling in bed doing nothing, enjoying being lazy, and the only way for the third day off this year. Nice. We freelancers don't normally have weekends off. You do not. That is for sure. Wait until you get a baby. That's going to be very interesting for you. Kyle, I will see you later. And if anyone's got any questions, again, just ask me now, because literally 43 minutes in, pretty much. I know that there's a bit of delay in the video, but I guarantee that no one, well, maybe some people, apart from Sound Speeds, have watched for this entire time. So, but with 4 or 3 people watching and 7 thumbs up, what? It shows that more people are thumbs up than watching. So, maybe that's it then. I try to give it a minute. We'll see. Okay, so it's been nearly 45 minutes, people. I love you all. I will see you later. And if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below, or you can email me. You can WhatsApp me. So my email is matt@soundrolling.com. You can WhatsApp me at +447 989 989. I don't even know my number. Yeah, 989. No. +44 999 818 928. WhatsApp me. Or DM me on Instagram, which apparently they're merging with Facebook and WhatsApp, at